And we are live with Spot Dodge, a live Nintendo podcast where every single week we react to the latest Nintendo news and talk about the games we are playing. It's going to be a fun show. Our first opening topic is going to be all about the most disappointing / worst games of the year. It's going to be a roundtable discussion / debate. Lots of slashes in this title. So guys, I'm here today, as always, with Mary Stowe, social media manager and host here at Destructoid. How you doing, Mary?
It's very cold here in Southern California today. I'm freezing.
Oh, is it?
Wow.
It is 58 degrees.
Oh, that's not cold. That's perfect.
Oh no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I-
That's like Arizona right now. Beautiful.
I have a
It's
buddy-
raining, so it's like flash flood warnings all day.
I have a buddy who lives in Alberta, and I think he said it's been snowing for like 8 days or something.
Jeez,
Jesus,
already,
man.
man.
John, quit lying. You don't have a buddy.
He's like, I knew your line when you said buddy.
Speaking of John, he's with us here today. He's an indie developer and managing editor over at The Escapist. How you doing, John?
I'm feeling motivated to prove the existence of my buddies.
I got screenshots.
You always lie about having friends. Next up, we have Greg Vargas, writer at PC Invasion and streamer over at Dynamite Giraffe. How you doing, Greg?
Hey man, I'm doing good.
Awesome. Thanks for the pause. It was a perfect amount this week, I gotta say. Like sometimes it goes a little too long, sometimes it's too fast. That was perfect.
It's a
Acceptable.
perfect amount for a sip of coffee. Thank you.
Exactly. And then we have the King Daddy Dilf of the podcast, Brett Larson, who missed last week. How you doing?
Boy, I'm good.
He's excited to play Sonic Frontiers, as you can tell.
Tough crowd.
I know that was
Jesus,
gonna come out
man.
of your mouth?
I didn't get a chuckle. One. Jesus, man.
Well, I thought it was a
I've
good
been
Sonic
I've been-
impersonation.
Good Sonic.
I had been practicing that boy for like an hour.
Oh,
It
I
was
got it
pretty
wrong.
solid.
It wasn't Sonic, it was
Good for
Dr.
an
Eggman.
hour practice.
It wasn't the new lower toned Sonic voice that Roger Craig Smith pulls off in Sonic Frontiers.
I haven't heard that yet. How is it? I heard he
It's
does
better.
Pretty good though.
It's better.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm so happy that they didn't recast and they just were like, oh wait, we don't have to recast. We can just have him do a slightly different voice. He's
Yeah.
played freaking Batman. Like he can handle a slightly lower toned Sonic, I think.
Right.
So yeah. And then lastly, of course, we have Eric on the ones and twos streaming the show from his super computer. How you doing, Eric? He's like, what? I'm not supposed to respond. He's like fumbling, trying to find his mic.
Don't worry, I'm ready this time. And I made sure that
Okay.
the thing will hit me. I'm doing fine.
Perfect. And you're not extremely loud like usual, where you're hurting my ears every time you talk.
Eric,
like
did you
you're
just
deep-throating a
roll
microphone.
your? Did he just roll his R's? Don't worry. I swear he just rolled his R's. If so, that
I
was
feel like I heard that too.
Don't worry.
Eric, quit
drum
being
roll?
fancy. All right, guys, let's get into the main topic of today, the most disappointing / worst games of the year. So why I decided to do this was because I felt like this year had a lot of either really disappointing games that were absolute dog crap, or games that like you had way higher expectations for, but they ended up just being kind of meh, or even still good, but not to the level that you expected. Because that happened to me with a few games, and we're going to get into it. But we're going to go around. Everyone's going to talk about the game or game that disappointed them this year. I guess we'll just drop them all at once, each person, so we don't have to like stay on this topic too long. So it's not like the whole show or anything. So I'm going to first throw it to Mary Stowe.
I knew it.
I
feel it.
The look of surprise.
I usually throw it to you first, so you should be
Yeah.
used to it at this point.
I know, but I was like, because people are gonna yell at me, especially people here.
They just
Oh
rip
my
the
God.
Band-Aid off then. Get it over with now. We're
Horizon
good.
Forbidden West.
I'm there
my
with
God.
you. Yes.
You-
Yes.
And I know John feels the same because he didn't play after an hour. So you guys,
It was more than an hour.
I, yeah,
Play the whole
I played
game.
several hours, but yeah.
I can't believe you guys. I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
It-
that's my.
it was-
It's just my most disappointing game. Like, and not saying it was like an absolute like shitty, terrible,
Not at
bad
all, yeah.
game. It's just I had really high expectations. I loved Zero Dawn. Like, I cannot stress that enough. I've played Zero Dawn start to finish multiple times on multiple difficulty settings. I've completed a lot of stuff in that game. So going into Forbidden West, I was like, I'm so excited. I'm ready. I love Aloy. I love this game. And then I don't know. It just didn't live up to the expectations. And I was just like, I'm over it. I actually had struggled trying to finish it. Like, I put it down for a bit and I was like, I gotta finish it. I was like, maybe it's gonna get better. Maybe it's gonna finally hook me in. And it kind of did very briefly, but then it lost me very quickly. And I was like, I don't know if it's the pacing or something. I don't know. I feel like Brett's very disappointed at me right now.
You know, I am, but you're definitely not alone. Like, there's this game I feel is pretty divisive. I don't think there's anyone that just flat out hated it, but because the first one was so special, that's like the risk you run of making a sequel is, even if the sequel is good, if it wasn't great, then it's like, okay, well, you didn't quite nail the landing like you did with the first one. So yeah, it kind of sucks, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah, this game, it was also on my list, so I figured I'd talk about it a little bit. Not a horrible game by any stretch, just very... It almost seems like it was everything that Sony had been building towards in terms of its new structure of its single-player games. And it's gotten to like the Ubisoft level of exactly what you expect and nothing more. And that's what this game was for me. Like, I loved the first one because it was such a mystery. It was a brand new world. You got these robots that really helped. But along with that, the gameplay is a lot of fun. The world is fascinating. The characters are interesting. Aloy's likable, unlike in the second game where she's not very likable in my opinion. And
no, she's a
all
bitch
of that
in the second one. Yeah, totally.
She is. It's strange, like, dude. And I've talked about this before, but like in the first game, she was an outcast and like everyone hated her. So you would expect her to act how she was in the second game, in the first game, but she didn't. She was actually pretty nice to people overall in the first game, and like weirdly open to helping people, even though she's been an outcast her whole life, and like people treat her like shit. Didn't really make sense. And the second game, they're like, oh wait, she should be an asshole now. And then it was just like, okay, this is kind of weird. So I feel like I would have liked it more had she been like that in the first one as well, but it was just kind of random in the second one. But along with that, like it's just a very run-of-the-mill open world game to me that has some extra polish. It's super stunning, and it just didn't really do it for me. Like in the story, like I was waiting for it to get like very interesting, and when it finally did, it quickly, like Mary said, like it pulled me in. And then once they revealed like what these people were, I won't spoil anything because the game's still fairly new, but like what these people were in the game that were like so different in terms of their visuals and like the clothes they were wearing. It like when it explains where like what they are, where they come from, I was like, oh, that's not the very cool. Like I was expecting it was better.
Yeah, it was interesting, but not as interesting as when you first see them and they're first revealed. You're like, oh wow, that's awesome. And then there's a big twist. I even agree. Like then there's a reveal.
I quit the game
like,
right after the new characters were finally introduced.
So you weren't interested at all about them.
So
yeah.
Bored to
so
death.
You don't even know like the eventual twist like halfway through the game,
like,
where it's.
When Carrie Ann Moss's group showed up and there's that random weird boss fight out of nowhere, like I just quit the game like right after that. I never played it again after that.
See, I got intrigued. I got intrigued when we met that group of characters.
Same.
But when you learn more about them, it's almost kind of disappointing. I wanted like more from that than what they gave us.
Yeah.
I will say
it's too out there.
I will say
it's too weird.
Yeah, but I will say at the end they do a pretty good job of keeping it open for an interesting finale to the trilogy. I think that they could get back on course and have a more solid in terms of story finale.
Like when I think about the first game and how it was such a personal story with Aloy while also introducing this fascinating world, but you're getting this really deep character that's like, I want to know who my parents are, like what's my mom, and then this is spoilers for Horizon Zero Dawn. It's a 7-year or 6-year-old game, 5-year-old game, I don't know. But at the end, when she's listening to the recording of you know who talking about something. I'll be vague. That's like a really
Big spoilers there, Brett.
I didn't want to spoil it.
She's
I
here.
You know
about
who
to
he's
say
talking
something.
about? Them.
I thought about spoiling and then it felt hard to spoil, so I left that whole thought behind. So I just think that moment was so good, so special. A tear dropped from my eye in the very last cutscene of Horizon Zero Dawn, and then going to Horizon Forbidden West. It was just like from the very beginning, like the structure of the game, the story, everything about it. It was just so boring, like so incredibly boring. Like that's the problem, and like it's just boring. I was expecting. What?
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Like that first town they introduced you to, where there's like you see a bunch of checkpoints on the map, and it's like, God, is this what the game really wants me to do right now? I think it is. So I guess I got to do all these checkpoints on the map, and you do them, and not to mention, I must have had a bug or something weird with my game because I played on normal, did a bunch of side stuff, and I'm getting killed in one hit every single time in this game. So that was infuriating. It was absolutely infuriating, but I try not to let that hurt my overall experience. I just kept, thinking about the positive elements, but there wasn't that many positive elements. Like the whole game was just kind of bleh. And I'm still interested in a third game, of course, because the first game, honestly, is one of my favorite games of all time. Like that's what's funny. Like the first game is one of my favorite games ever. It might even be my number one PS4 game ever. But the second game, just like The Last of Us Part 2, just totally did not hit for me at all.
See that issue you had with the difficulty, I didn't have at all. In fact, I almost felt like some of like the big set piece boss moments were easier than I was expecting. And I'll be honest, I'm not very good at games. I'm usually worse at games than you are. So when you were telling me you were struggling on parts, I was surprised. Maybe it's just one of those like weird games that I didn't struggle with that you did. And Mary was shaking her head. I think she was.
Dude, I'm telling you, it has to be a bug. I was getting killed by small enemies in one hit, no matter what. And I was so confused.
That happened to me, but I think part of mine was also like an armor issue. Like I kept holding out for better gear at one point, and but yeah, there was a few times. I'm also very risky with how I play. Like I'll just kind of jump into scenarios and be like, I'm gonna be fine, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I'm not fine.
So I think that's what it is too, because like I was telling Brett this, I was like, I almost never meleeed. I would stand as far back as possible and just sit and pick them off like slowly, piece by piece. And
we gotta move on to the next games.
Yeah, that's fine. But anyways, I was just gonna say one last thing. I almost wonder if part of the reason this one didn't live up to like expectations is because it was held back by the fact that it was being made for PS4. You know what I mean? Like it almost makes me think that maybe they wanted to be more ambitious with it and they couldn't, and being held back.
As far as I know,
that doesn't fix the story problems, though.
Yeah, not at all.
No, for sure. But there was other things. But yeah, I know we got to move on. So
yeah, we got to move on. But I will say, as far as the rumors I heard, Horizon Forbidden West was originally PS5 only, and they changed it to PS4 and PS5. God of War was always PS4, but it got pushed like later into its release, and then they decided to make it a PS5 game as well. But I don't know. I don't think I have them swapped. I think that's right, but I could be wrong.
It was the opposite, but I don't know. You could be right.
All right, let's move on to the next person.
I think John's talking, but he's muted.
Oh, is he? You talking, John? Yep, we can't hear you.
It is muted.
He's like, why are they talking over me? Like every time you try talking. Yep, you're working.
Do we hear me?
Yeah,
you're working.
All right. I don't know. Guess things are on the first side. I don't remember what I was going to say, so let's move on.
I was going to actually throw it to you next, John. What's your most disappointed games or game of the year?
Well, it's a hard question for me to answer because typically I only buy things that I know I'm going to like. Like I'm seldom like wildly disappointed by something I've played. So like my default answer would have been Horizon Forbidden West. Cause
that's spent a hefty $70 on it and played a few hours.
Yeah, with no current plans to go back either. But,
jeez.
Aside from that, well, I guess I'll say Sifu with a bunch of asterisks, and those asterisks are that I played like one level and I just never went back to it. Sifu I thought was like, I don't know, it just seemed kind of simple to me. Like I just didn't really enjoy the combat at all. It felt like kind of sluggish, and like it seemed like the best solution was always to just grab the closest weapon and beat up everybody with it until it breaks, and then try to grab another weapon and continue beating up everybody. Like I didn't see like this like awesome strategic experience that other people were. I was like, I don't know, but like I think that is a game maybe I'll at least try again at some point to see maybe if I'll take to it a little more, since it's probably not that long a game. But as it stands, I'm kind of like meh on Sifu. And but yeah, Horizon's yeesh.
Brett's heart is hurting.
Oh.
And
I'll survive.
Bayonetta 3 is another one that I just started that I am enjoying, but I'm not loving it yet. But I don't know. I should probably just start. I mean, save that for like games that we're playing, probably.
Yeah, I got to talk about that too.
Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that for now. That Sifu isn't grabbing me.
All right. I guess I'll just go ahead and throw it to Greg Vargas next. What was your worst or most disappointing game of the year?
Well, I will say that after a lot of anticipation and
Don't say it,
guess
Greg.
I'm
Don't
gonna
you
say
it.
Don't say it.
I was really looking forward to it. Fucking Bayonetta 3, man. So disappointed.
No. Greg, call it by its correct name. Come on.
Jankanetta 3.
There you
There
go.
we go.
I swear they're
Low
like
key.
so we had this conversation offline, we
Right.
in our separate chat, and we were just talking about it. And Brett was like, what specifically about the game don't you like? And I think the issue was it's not necessarily like one thing, it's a culmination of little things that just started to pick at me over my experience. And I think the bottom line for me was that it's not the polish or the overall fleshed out vision that I thought two companies like Sega and Nintendo would bring to the table. Not only that, putting their stamp of approval on it, and then, being developed by Platinum Games, I figured that would bring a level of, their development pedigree to the table. And so far, it just feels like it's like, in some reviews that I've done, it feels like, oh, there's, a lot of mechanics that they brought into the game that they figured would be good ideas, scrap some, and what we were left with is, what made it into the game. But for Bayonetta 3, I feel like all the ideas that they brought to the table were just like crammed and shoehorned into the game to I don't know, to provide fill, to make it more deep. But I feel that as I've played a few hours of it, more than a few hours, I don't feel like I'm ever really like mastering any sense of any of these mechanics, even though like new ones are still being added. And, for the first time in a long time, I really genuinely put in the effort to explore the menus, to look at different upgrade options, to see what this does. Even though if I feel like if I upgrade this or use this charm or use this, lollipop, that, oh, I'm cheating by getting more health. I'm like, nah, fuck it. Let's just, use it and see, play the game. And that's another thing that bothers me is that the UI is just so clunky and just not intuitive. And then I look at the graphics of the game and some of it feels rushed, and then the character designs are, feel kind of wonky and incomplete. And everybody, for the most part, doesn't have the polish that Bayonetta has. And I'm like, to me, it's a really intriguing story, and it's interesting, and it's kind of cool that they're, playing off other, popular references in pop culture and whatnot. But I still feel like there's some element to each of the pieces of this game that make the game as a whole missing. And I think that's what really is disappointing to me, that it doesn't feel finished. I would have much rather have sit, in the development cycle for another 6 to 8 months. Shit, I wouldn't even have minded another year if it meant that, the visuals, the mechanics, the presentation, the UI, the graphics, everything felt just a little bit more fleshed out. And, combat wise, I do appreciate the combat when it does happen, but I do feel like this was, a great opportunity to kind of pull all these things together. Maybe, it gets more fun down the road in the game and combat happens more frequently. But at this point, I'm just kind of disappointed overall. It's not like I'm not having fun, because at certain times I am, but between the small hitches I've seen in frame rate, the weird like choppy cinematics that skipped during my playthrough, and random sections that I just like, why is this in here? I don't know. I don't feel this is a very like Nintendo, like traditional Nintendo release game where it's like, in my head I'm hearing Miyamoto say, or whatever the old saying is, it's like, you only have one chance to release a game, and
don't say it, Greg. Do not say that overused.
I'm just saying, in this case,
a rushed game is bad. A forever game is good and weird.
3 does not feel good. I said it earlier. It's not a mediocre game. It's sometimes good, not great. But I've
been just sitting here,
Brett,
standing idly by.
I had to sit here through 3 motherfuckers cutting Horizon down. So you're gonna sit here and you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
Listen. The thing is that I don't really disagree.
The thing is,
I don't really disagree with most of what he said. But one thing I did figure out, Greg, and this is just my advice: the game introduces tons of different weapons and fighting styles, but you don't have to do all of them or any of them. You can choose which one you like the most and just stick with it and master that one, upgrade only that skill tree.
Why are the other ones in the game then?
Because if you want to replay the game, you can play as a totally different build. Like, that's how I'm viewing it. So I only stuck with mainly one weapon the whole time, and then I switched it up because you can do like the L1 whatever, like switch between them, and then it makes your combos look cooler. So I recommend just sticking with the one you like. I really liked the chain one. That's kind of like a Kratos' like chains.
Great.
Where it's like there's
but why can't it be like Yakuza 0 or
nothing can be like Yakuza 0. That's right, Greg.
Different fighting styles for different situations. And I mean, you can balance the play between each of them instead of picking one. But that's a part. Like, in the back of my mind, I know the other ones are there, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm neglecting these. Why are they included if I'm not using them? And I'm playing the entire game with one style while completely, ignoring the rest of them.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, I feel like it was unnecessary for them to add all the different weapons and fighting styles. So that's why I'm just like, I stuck with the one I liked, the one that I did the most damage with. I upgraded it all the way and I was happy. But I understand like why someone would criticize, why is all this stuff in the game if I'm never using it? But then again, a lot of games do that. There's always skill trees and upgrades and stuff that you never use in so many games. Like even the Batman Arkham games, like there's so many different combo things that you can unlock that you never actually use. You end up just doing the same basic square, triangle to parry or whatever, and then square.
It feels like unnecessary fluff that's just added to be like, hey, look at all these things you can do.
It's not even like padding the game in any way. It's just throwing a bunch of different weapons at you every time you beat a boss. You unlock a new weapon and like a new way of traversal, which is really cool because you have a lot to choose from. But it is weird how there's so many, and it's like a 10-hour game, and you only have time to really use one and upgrade one. Well, actually, I upgraded a bunch, but like to really master one, that's all you really need to do to play through, like as you're playing through the game.
And I've started upgrading, and I still feel. I don't know. I still feel empty inside. No, I feel
my problem.
Like this, like I want to feel like I'm mastering the game. Like I'm overcoming a play style or this weapon or like in Monster Hunter. While whatever weapon you choose, like eventually down the road you can nail all the combos. When exactly to strike. When the animation starts, when it stops, and I just don't. There's just like a disconnect in that. Like, no matter what enemy type I'm playing.
I think you're wrong. No, I'm just kidding.
You can say it.
I think, like I'm saying, like after I found that one playstyle that I really liked, I stuck with it. I learned like Bayonetta's dodging patterns and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I will say Bayonetta 2 mechanically feels stronger than Bayonetta 3. Like the dodging and like the enemy strikes, the timing on everything felt better in Bayonetta 2. And in Bayonetta 3 it is more chaotic and there's so much more going on, and there's, you know, like different fighting styles you can use and whatnot, which in and of itself is cool, and it's a spectacle to experience, but it doesn't mean like mechanics wise it's better than Bayonetta 2, because it's really not, in my opinion. And like you were saying, the game just never really just lets you fight. It does in the second half, like there's a lot more just fighting, which I finally like appreciated, because in the beginning, like the first half of the game is just set piece after set piece. Sometimes I just want to punch some people.
Yeah,
and
I was getting really annoyed with that in the first level.
Yeah, like I just want to fight, like sometimes, because like Bayonetta's combat is strong. Like even though I don't think Bayonetta 3's combat is as strong as 2's,
though.
It's very fun and satisfying, and her dodge mechanic is so fun to master, and all that stuff, like the slowdown. And in Bayonetta 3, there's not as many like times to actually do that, and that's kind of sad. I'm sure like
some of the go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, like, I guess, like, to a certain degree, like, some of the, like, hidden verses that you find, you know, have, like, small miniature battles and get unlocks. And, like, you know, to that degree, like, okay, like, I'm in this level. I really want to head in this direction. And I do, and see, I won't say that every aspect of it is, you know, I hate, because I love finding new areas. In my brain, I already know, like, oh, this looks out of place, or this looks like you can climb it. You probably can. There's probably something here. And like 90% of the time I'm right. And I am finding, you know, additional stuff and whatnot. But I still feel like that's so infrequent. And then I'm thrust into a new area, and now I'm turning back time to find something else. And I'm like, oops, did I go too far? And then like the next cinematic starts for the next portion of the level. And I'm like, fuck, I didn't even get to check out the rest of this. And I accidentally, you know, pushed forward, you know, to this new spot in the game. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'm moving forward now. And then I'm still unsure of the combat, unsure of the exploration. And I figured I'd probably say I'm about 5+ hours in. I don't know. But I feel like at this point I should feel like I have progressed much further.
Dude, one thing I will say that disappointed me, and I usually never say this, but Bayonetta 3 is too easy. It is not nearly as hard as Bayonetta 2. And I actually loved the challenge of Bayonetta 2. Like every fight felt like a triumph, and it felt really intense, and every boss fight. Whereas this one, like once again, there's a lot more going on. It looks like visually a lot crazier, but the challenge wasn't really there either. So that kind of disappointed me.
I always feel like the boss is going to get back up or something, and I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, the game, what's weird about this game is that it surprised me in areas that I didn't expect, and it disappointed me in areas that I expected it to do really great. Like the progression that Greg is talking about of the combat and like of your upgrades and stuff. I didn't think it was really that good. The combat itself is great, but like we're saying, there's not enough of it. And one thing that you didn't really talk about is like the story stuff. I never expected to care about a Bayonetta story, but by the end of this game, I had a tear rolling down my cheek, and then I was smiling from ear to ear for like 5 minutes straight. Like it is such a celebration of this franchise, like the last hour of this game, that it's freaking insane. Like it's amazing. Like I loved it. And I feel like probably a lot of reviewers came off the ending like, wow, that was incredible. And then like completely forgetting like the pacing of the game's kind of weird. The upgrading is kind of weird. The combat is like too few and far between. So they were probably riding on that high of the end, because I actually really thought it was cool. But yeah.
You got high at the end? Like you didn't do drugs, Brett.
Well, that's what I'm at least hopeful of, is that it finishes strong. I feel like, you know, I've accomplished something, and even to this point where I've missed like some of the hidden areas, like I will probably go back and replay it just to get those hidden items and maybe play through a couple of the levels and stuff. So at least I'm there, but at this point it's probably like a 6.5, maybe 7-ish.
Get the hell out of town. I'm just kidding.
I'm just just trying to be honest.
I give it like an 8 to 8.5, but I hate numbers. I would I'm mad I even said that. Like, numbers are stupid and everybody should stop using them.
Yeah, but it's fun with, like, if you're not being taken too seriously to say I would give this an 8 or something. But if you have like an entire company writing on your review like IGN does, I think that's crazy. It's like one person at IGN counts for the entire company. Everyone's like, IGN gave that a 6. No, one guy gave it a 6, and now they all look like the bad guys, you know?
Right.
But
yeah, I don't know. Based off the one level that I have gotten to the end of, not including the prologue, it's feeling like 8-ish to me so far. Yeah. So like, since we're just like trashing games now, my issues with the game so far are that, number one, so like a lot of the enemies are like a lot bigger now, and the camera is not always there to like back that up. So sometimes I'm getting hit by things that I can't see, and that annoys me.
Yeah.
it seems too chaotic sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it's like
Right.
"Ugh."
Right, and yeah, I'm getting hit in times where it's like too zoomed in, so it's like
Yeah.
can't win. But another thing is, I feel like the game actually does a pretty bad job of like reintroducing you to its mechanics, because there was a lot of things that I remembered from Bayonetta 2, but like the game wasn't telling me that until like an hour later, and I kept wondering,
Dude,
like, what's going on?
Did the game ever even like, I could have just easily skipped it, but did the game ever even tell you to like go to the pause menu and upgrade your stuff? 'Cause I could have sworn I never saw that.
I think
It took me, yeah, I was like, I think halfway into the first level when I realized I could hit this button to get to the menu. I was like, oh,
like,
It's like-
I didn't notice it until like a few hours in. I'm gonna just be open and honest.
well, like I noticed it when I forget, it was like some random item. I don't remember what it was. Like I got like some like little notice saying if I hit a certain button I could get there. So yeah, it does indirectly make mention of a menu, but like it's
Okay.
there's just like a lot of stuff that like it could have introduced much sooner. And like for instance, you have to beat the first level to unlock the practice mode. You can't do practice mode before you beat the first level. Like, how stupid is that? Like, I sincerely wanted to try out and practice all the different combos because I know there's so many, and I could only do it in like those 3 seconds of load screens in between areas. And like I double checked the menus like 3 times. Like, later, there has to be practice mode somewhere, dedicated practice mode. There was not. It unlocked after level 1. I was like, well, that's great. So,
dude, that's it's funny you say that, because Sonic Frontiers does it, like, it has you play a whole level before teaching. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I get the idea of like throwing someone into the action and like letting them have fun, but like there's a really delicate balancing act, and I would argue that giving you practice mode after completing an hour-long first level is a bad idea. Like, maybe give it to you after the prologue instead of level 1. I think that's weird. And
this is the first time that I've ever read like every single one of the like tip cards. I'm like, no, I guess I'll actually scroll through each one of these, read it.
You have to.
Yeah, man.
Understand
that's my thing too, because I'm a total newcomer to Bayonetta. So you guys at least have like the previous games in the series. I have to admit, like I was completely, like not completely, but there was times where I was beating the bosses, but I was like, if I face a tough boss, I'm just gonna get my ass kicked, because I still, after playing it for an hour, don't know what the hell I'm doing. And like, there's that weird thing where you like control that big, whatever they call it, when you're holding like
the infernal beasts or whatever,
like ZL, but you're controlling it with the other. Like, it was just so weird, the mechanics. And I know you're going to get used to it, and I know you'll get to the point where you're not even thinking about it. But I don't know, that first hour or whatever, I was like, these have got to be like some of the weirdest controls like in any game I've ever played.
So that segues into my final point of what I don't like about this game so far. Summoning the giant monster things, I hate that. Like, I think that is no, I think it is such a distraction from the core gameplay. I mean, enjoy what you like. For me personally, I hate it. Like, I think it's weird. It's such a distraction. Like, I enjoy the combo-based gameplay of playing as Bayonetta. I don't want to hold down a button to summon a giant monster, and basically it amounts to just button mashing because it's a limited time frame in the first place. So you're doing 2-hit combo, 2-hit combo, bite, 2-hit
Dude, the
combo.
thing
It's
is-
boring, and then you're waiting for it to charge up again. It's like,
It's like
Yeah,
they
but
said
better-
it's like they couldn't figure out a way to make Bayonetta feel bigger or be more powerful. So they were like, we'll just throw fucking Godzilla in there and then let him fight.
yeah,
but
I think it would have been better if you could just summon that and then fight alongside of it, and it just kind of goes on autopilot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Like
I just
scale
felt like
bound.
it was so weird having to hold that button down and still like control her. It was just bizarre.
Yeah.
I hated that.
yeah.
I mean, guys, I
just don't
just
think
want to
they're
say,
fun.
I just want to say once again, I barely used the monster like my whole playthrough. I only used it when I had to because I didn't
Weird.
think. I just like to fight, like John's saying. Like I just want to fight, and the game was still, I thought, pretty easy compared to the second game, even
I think
without
they're
using
useful,
the big old monster.
like when you want to
big old
destroy the
monster.
environment and get extra stuff. Like it's
That's what my wife
easy
calls
just to
that.
summon them real quick, have them destroy the cars, and then it just goes away. And like that's all I've been really using them for.
Yeah,
See, I do make a point of using the monsters because of factors into the time score, and like I don't
Yeah.
usually care about
that's
scores in these
true.
games, but for some reason, like apparently I was actually pretty good at Bayonetta 2. Like I don't know why, I just was. So like I feel like I owe it to myself to like try hard in this game.
Mm.
But like I don't enjoy using the thing. I'm using it strictly to try and kill things faster to up my time score. But like otherwise it's just annoying. Like I'd rather fight
Yeah.
these things as Bayonetta.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I wouldn't even focus on the scores. Just fight as Bayonetta. It's more fun.
Yeah.
And then just use them whenever you're about to die or something.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know,
I And I know this is basically us just shitting on Bayonetta right now, but I do want to stress I did really love the
I
game.
was just saying,
Like,
Brett really
I'm
does like the
hoping I
game
will.
like quite a bit.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. Like it wasn't Bayonetta 2. No, like Bayonetta 2 is just like in a league of its own, basically.
Yeah.
But the game is still amazing to me. Like it's still like a top tier action game. And one more thing I didn't like very much, and then we got to move on to the next game, is Viola's combat. I did not like very much. And her parry just seems, in comparison to Bayonetta's dodge, which I feel like is a pretty big window that you can dodge something. Her parry just seems like it has to be like right on point or else it's not working. And I found myself failing a lot with her parry. Like I might suck at video games maybe, but I felt like her parry wasn't very useful. And I feel like a lot of other people probably feel that way too, but I could be wrong.
I've heard that her combat's not as satisfying, but I haven't gotten to her yet because I've only completed level 1.
When I did get a parry, it was like the greatest feeling ever, but they just seemed so hard to get, so I could never keep like,
And her hair
repeatedly
is
doing it.
ugly.
Oh,
It
snap.
made it
Greg
look
went
so
there.
jagged.
I will say though, like story wise, I do like her as a character.
Yeah, oh yeah, I really like her as a character.
Elena
That's why I'm
Taylor wants to
disappointed in
make
the
sure
model.
you boycott her spinoff.
Yeah.
Can I just say real quick, and I don't have a ton to say about the game because I only played it for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. But I have to say that this game graphically looks so bad at times. Like dude, there's some character models that look like they're ripped out of GameCube. Like, dude, and this is
You're
the company that
forgetting.
made.
You're forgetting
No.
how bad GameCube look.
Oh, well, I don't mean literally. I'm obviously
You're
exaggerating.
thinking
but,
like PS3 for sure. Like
but here's my thing.
I was
though.
thinking
This
of
is
PS3 playing the game.
yeah.
this is Platinum, who made, I still think, the most beautiful Switch game ever. In Astral
Astral Chain.
Astral Chain.
Astrobot.
Chain. I almost called it Astral Blade. What the hell? Yeah, Astral
Okay.
Chain.
Yeah,
To
that
me,
sounds kind of cool.
I honestly
Yeah, let's make
think
that.
that's the prettiest Switch game of all time, and it just looks terrible at times on that. I don't know.
Dude,
Maybe
but
that's something
this
you
game's
just get
got
over,
some.
but-
I think it can look really ugly. Like definitely, there's like ugly textures and stuff. But when you see like some really big set pieces, it's like, okay, this is impressive. There's a lot happening right now, and it's like really cool to see. I don't think it's a super ugly game like you guys have been trashing on it. I think it looks like a Switch game to me. Like every Switch game looks like this to me
No.
nowadays. There are some games
better looking
that have better
games.
art styles, but this
And
is
maybe
what
it's
like
because Astral Chain had that different art style. That could probably be part of it. But like, if that's
Any
the case,
game-
make it a different art style.
But like any game that's even aiming for somewhat realistic character models, even though like their proportions are all over the place, any game that's aiming for anything like that on Switch, this is almost as good as it's going to get. Like there's not much more you can do with Switch hardware, especially when you have a game like this where it's like the environmental destruction that's going on, the huge set pieces, all the enemies on screen. It's trying to hit 60 frames per second. This is as good as it's going to get, you son of a bitches. So get over it. All right, move on. Let's talk about. Oh yeah, who's next? Who was that? Greg? Yeah,
Greg. Greg. Yeah.
Okay, we already did John. So Brett, you're next.
So did Mary do all of hers? I know you just like moved on.
She started.
Because you said we're all.
Yeah, I started.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because I thought
she
we were
did
all
hers.
going to do all
Okay,
of ours.
we don't need to bring it up.
once.
You've forgotten about it.
We're doing
me. We're good.
all at the same
Blacked
time.
out.
each
Shit on
person.
it again. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, because she never
You
finished
know
hers.
what game
So if you want
sucks?
to.
Brett, what is your game or games?
Okay. My list.
He has to look at his
So-
notes.
No, I
Just
just can't
hate
remember
so
which ones I
much.
wrote down. So my first game is also a game that I'm playing right now, so I won't go too into this, but I think this is pretty obvious. Gotham Knights. I had gotten to the point where I didn't have like super big expectations for this because of what we saw, but because of the fact that it was the team that did Arkham Origins, which a lot of people didn't like, but Brett, me and you both really liked that game. I thought that was
Loved
a
it.
sound game. And like, it just all the things that I heard people say negatively about that game, I thought that they really didn't have a lot of merit behind. Like some of the voice acting was fantastic. Who the hell does Joker's voice? He's famous. I'm like forgetting things I should. Troy Baker. He does Joker's voice, and he does such a good job of you not knowing that it's Mark Hamill. Like when I first started that game, I was like, dude, I'm so glad that they got Mark Hamill back on Arkham Origins. And you're like, dude, that's not Mark Hamill. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it sounds just like him. Like, he did such a good job. Anyways, I love that game. So I was expecting like same team. It's been forever since they've done a game. And
10 years.
I feel like we beat this to death already, but the voice acting is
Atrocious. It gets
terrible.
worse. It gets worse,
No,
Brett.
it does. It does. No, I think I'm actually ahead of you now. And there's been times I've actually sent Brett quotes as a text message. I would just like Red Hood would say something, and it was so atrociously stupid. I would send him a text with the quotes and then put like dash Red Hood at the end, because there was like lines. It's part of the dialogue that was written and part of like the voice acting, and that combination of those two things, it's just so bad. And it's unfortunate because there's also times where I catch myself really enjoying the game, but then something will come along that's really cheesy or corny or not acted well, and it takes me completely out of it.
Dude,
So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, it's been unfortunate. Again, it's not a terrible game because there are moments where I do find myself really appreciating and having fun, and kind of like not remembering that it's not a great game. I almost forget that it's not a great game until something happens in like story wise or something. I also think they go back to like the Belfry. The Belfry is like the home base, and they constantly go back to the Belfry. Like, I feel like after every tiny little mission, they have to go back to the Belfry. I'm like, just let me play consecutive missions. And that gets annoying. But anyways, I've got a few on here, so I won't stay on that too long. My other one is Saints Row. Another game I didn't I didn't have like tons of expectations for either. I was kind of expecting it to fail. But my thing is, when I first started it, I think you guys remember this, I actually played like the first 2 or 3 hours, and I actually came in and I defended it. I was like, there's no way this game is a 6. I was like,
10 out of 10.
I was like, this is actually quite solid. The set pieces are good. And then you get to a certain point, and usually when you get to that point in like open world games, things open up and it's really fun because you get to go do like side missions that involve this thing and this thing and this thing. And it opens up and none of what they have you do makes sense. And like the beginning story where it starts, which is actually really intriguing, just stops. And it has you do all these things that make no sense. That this group of people are in this predicament. And instead of trying to solve this situation that they're in, they're out like stealing ice cream trucks and stuff. Like, what? It just took such a stupid detour. And had they stayed on, it's exactly what it is. But even most games that have padding can kind of pull it off and not make it so mind-numbingly miserable like this one was. And I got to the point where at the end, after I defended it, I was like, this is absolutely a 6. Hell, it might be worse than a 6.
Well,
so
it's funny you bring that up because just today, Volition and Deep Silver announced a huge November update for this game that will have over
17th best-selling game of the year.
Yeah, this is crazy.
It's gonna have over 200 fixes and improvements. Like it sounds like a really big redo, like desperately trying to save this game's sales.
Jeez.
Yeah. So
I think it has sold really good though. Because I remember their post.
It sold.
They made a post,
well, but probably not what they were expecting from a Saints Row game. Like,
I just remember, like right after launch, it had like a really good launch sales wise, and they were like, "We're really happy with this, but we're not happy with the critical reception, and we will do better." So this is probably what they're talking about. But
well, I mean, I'm sure. Well, I mean, as we all know, there's a difference between like initial sales and then like the tail of the thing, like over time. Like Mario Kart 8, that thing is God. Like it has the longest tail of any
top
game.
10
like,
every month.
Just insane. So like they're not gonna get that Mario Kart effect with the game that they've created. So maybe this is their attempt to like stabilize the long-term sales. That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I don't know. Let's see. Maybe your opinions will do a 180 in like a few weeks.
Maybe.
Yeah.
What sucks is there were also, like Gotham Knights, there were times when I had fun with the game. It's just they completely missed the mark too often. And one of the things is the direction of this Saints Row from other Saints Row. Obviously, if you played any other Saints Row, they're wacky and fucking hilarious and like offensive, and they went the opposite way so bad that like when there's one character in particular that I found out when I found out they changed Rim Rob, I was like, I'm done with this. Like,
it's a location.
How is Rim Job offensive? Like how?
Yeah, it was so silly. Like
it's funny.
Everybody can enjoy it.
Exactly.
Anyone and everyone can accept a rim
Anyone
job.
can get a fucking rim job, okay? It's not offensive. Why did they change his name?
Jim Robs. It's a location, Brett, that you're thinking of. It's someone's name as well, though, right?
Right. It's the guy, but they don't ever actually call him that. It's the name of the car mechanic shop place. It's Jim Robs. It used to be called Rim Jobs.
Yeah, that was funny. It was just, and then like, it's one of those things that's like, why? Like, just why? That was not offensive in any way. But now that you changed it, I am offended.
Right.
It sounds like something they went down a list on and they were like, what about this rim jobs? What is this rim jobs here?
Yeah, we can't be having rim jobs around here.
No rim jobs allowed in our M-rated game.
Yeah, and it like Gotham Knights, the voice acting totally seemed phoned in and just really bad.
From what I played, it was better than Gotham Knights, though. The voice acting, not the writing, but the voice acting.
I think you're right. I think the voice acting might have been pulled off better, but the writing was just very, and I hate using this word, but cringe. Sometimes you're just like, oh my God, please, why does she? Anyway, so I got one more and then one kind of, but I won't say much on the last one. Even this one I won't stay on very long. But Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. So this one,
it's a good one. I forgot about that one.
Yeah, it was unfortunate because it came out right during the time where I was kind of like excited about Star Wars. We'd had a couple seasons of Mandalorian. I think right before that we had the Book of Boba Fett. And then we had Obi-Wan coming out, and I was totally like all in on Star Wars at the time. So I was like, this is cool. I get to go back and experience some of these moments from the movies that I haven't done in a long time. And I would say that was about the only thing I enjoyed out of it, was because I haven't seen the prequels and the originals in so long that it was interesting going back and experiencing, because they did a pretty good job of like from what are you laughing at?
I texted Greg. I'm sorry. Keep on going.
Okay. They did a pretty good job of like going from the first movie all the way through, and like they didn't miss a lot as far as like the important stuff in the story. So it was kind of cool getting like a recap almost of the movies. So that was kind of cool. But other than that, like it was just so boring. The puzzles, and that's one thing about Lego games that have always been interesting, is the puzzles. And the puzzles were boring. They weren't fun. The combat was awful. I mean, each character had like one or two moves, and that was it. It was just like hitting a button over and over and over. And yeah, it got to the point where I was like, I want this game to be over so I can add it to GG and be done with this. And that kind of sucked because I was totally expecting to have a good time with that. And it was pretty boring.
Yeah, I was bored with that.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. The last one is a possibility. I'll explain what I mean by that. Somerville comes out next week. And I've heard nothing but bad about Somerville. And if anyone who's listened to this, and you guys know, I am absolutely obsessed with Inside. And the ex-CEO of Playdead, what was his name? Dino Patti, left Playdead and helped the Jump Ship, I believe.
You found
co-founded Jump Ship with Chris Olsen, and they made this game. It was their first game they've made. And I had nothing but like the highest of intentions after he came off of Limbo and Inside especially. And I've heard nothing but negative so far. And I'm hoping that maybe it's just one or two people that maybe view something differently than I will, because this will be soul crushing to me if this game doesn't turn out great. Because like I've said, that Inside changed the way I view certain games. Like I loved that so much. So yeah,
the ending of that game really annoyed me though. It was like so depressing.
In that game, like my brain was on fire after I wanted to look up like theories and like what did this mean, and like I went down a rabbit hole after that game just enthralled me so much. But
I enjoyed it
for Somerville
to the very end where I was like, well, this felt like a waste of time.
Really?
Yeah, the jury's out on Somerville, but I'm hearing it may not be great.
Yeah, too bad.
All right, and now we only have me left. I'll try and go kind of fast.
Mary didn't finish.
I just had the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You keep saying that, Brett. We keep telling you she's done.
I thought she said she had a fucking list, okay?
Did not say it.
For her.
Yeah, just because you had 10 games on yours.
I appreciate you remembering that I have a list.
He's so offended that Mary didn't.
No.
All right, I'm gonna try and go down mine pretty fast. A lot of them are ones you guys already talked about. Here we go. CrossfireX, Remedy Games' next big title since Control, which was also kind of disappointing and would have been on my list. But anyway, CrossfireX, I was like, you know what? Remedy doing a first-person shooter? This is probably about to be amazing. They're going to throw in some of their weird story stuff. It's actually going to be like a nice story-driven first-person Call of Duty type campaign. And I'll be honest, I didn't absolutely hate it like most people did. I thought it was a decent, enjoyable first-person shooter campaign, but that's literally all it was. It's something I'll probably never play or really think about much ever again, and that's a damn shame because Remedy has made two of my favorite games, which are freaking Alan Wake and Quantum Break, and Control had its positive elements, but I just didn't like a lot of little things about it. But man, those two games I adore, and I was really looking forward to this one, and I'm pretty sad that it ended up being just so like cut and dry, like first person shooter. The story stuff that they try to doing in it was very Remedy like it's all psychological. You're inside someone's head, you're walking around an empty house and looking at things, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. But like traditional Remedy fashion, did that all make sense? Anyway, it was very hard to even grasp what was going on. Like, it's usually what the hell is going on in this game with Remedy? But in this game, it's like, okay, what in the goddamn hell is going on in this game? Because I know who anyone is, what the goal is, who are these people in these flashback dream sequences. I don't know. The game did look really pretty, so I'll give it that. But for the most part, it really disappointed. And the multiplayer is absolutely terrible. But that wasn't Remedy, but still. The actual mechanics of this game, the first person shooting, the default setting is so unbelievably bad. It's the worst first person shooter I've ever felt in my life. If anyone ever downloads it, go into the settings and immediately change them. Shut off anything you can that's like, because it is absolutely terrible. Like the acceleration and the sensitivity, all of it felt really off. Next up, Gotham Knights. Brett talked about it. I'm playing it different than Brett. Brett's mainlining the whole story. I'm doing all the sides, all the big side stuff, which I feel like is the actual game, the actual meat of the game. And I really like the side stories because they don't feel like padded side quests. They're actually fleshed out with like cutscenes and like character moments. You're gonna miss out on all the character stuff for Harley, Clayface, and Mr. Freeze if you don't do side quests. But that's the thing, they don't really feel like side quests. It feels like you're supposed to do them. So that's been the best part because they take you to a lot of cool environments, like this tower that's all frozen from Mr. Freeze. You're going down in some like scary settings and stuff. But like Brett mentioned, these really serious settings, and then you got the worst goddamn voice acting that I've heard in a AAA video game in like 10 years. It's just abysmal. Like I was just listening to a clip as Brett was talking about it. You get poisoned and you get put in like a torture chamber, like that's essentially what it is, and you have to escape. And she's just so nonchalant about it. She's like, "How do I get out of here? Like, what are you? You could die. Like, you're trapped in a scary ass cellar with flaming walls and spikes that pop out, and it's like you're just perfectly. How do I get out of here? This is crazy. I'm just like, what? I don't get it. I really don't. Like, I don't know.
There's a part on, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I didn't want to forget. There was a part on my playthrough where you're underground and things are starting to fall apart. And it's one of those moments where you got to run to escape so you don't die. And it kind of pans out and like lets you take control. And right as you're taking control, Red Hood goes, "Yeah, I'm not sticking around here." Like, who fucking says that?
You're running, you're about
to die, and you say, "Yeah, I don't think."
And it doesn't match the tone of the movement of the character. Like he's like running full speed, and the talk is just like, "I should probably get out of here."
It's so bad, dude.
Dude, that's what I mentioned last week or the week before. This guy he gets killed and falls down into a cellar with you, and you're running away through this obstacle because something's happened where you have to run. And as you're running through an obstacle, like doing jumps and flips, running full speed, she's just talking like, "I feel bad for that man."
Yeah,
it's like at least sound like you're in the middle of like running or something. Like they know the character's gonna be running.
Yeah.
It's like anything would have been better. Like say, "What the hell's going on?" That's better than what they gave us. Yeah. But no. So yeah, terrible writing, and I do like certain elements of the game, but I just feel like it's just so disappointing after Arkham Origins, which is just so good. The writing is like there's no way that whoever wrote Arkham Origins wrote this game, and if they did, I want to know where they're getting their drugs, because this is freaking insanely dropped. Like the quality has dropped so far down in terms of the writing. I don't know what happened.
Mitch Dyer.
That's third episode in a row. Damn it, Mitch. But yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be an asshole to people who wrote the game, people who acted in the game. I'm sure it was a combination of all of them. So it wasn't just one person.
I'm not trying to be mean to one person. I'm trying to be mean to all of you.
Everyone. That was the joke. Next up, Babylon's Fall by Platinum Games, the developer of Bayonetta 1, 2, frickin' Vanquish. They made Nier Automata, some of the best games I've ever played. They put out this stinker, and Brett texted me earlier. He was like, "Dude, you can't put that on your list. You didn't play it." But little did he know, I did download the demo and played approximately 1 minute before I decided this game is not worth my time.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, I kept hearing like I kept hearing how bad it was, and I was like, I'm downloading this for myself. And just the second I started playing, I was like, I can just tell this game is not even worth my time at all. The first gameplay trailer totally different game. I don't know what happened to this game, but it is not what they revealed originally. It is way different. The art style is different. The character models are different. Everything is different. I don't know what happened. And I'll never forget whenever it was gone for a while and they re-revealed Babylon's Fall, and it was like way downgraded graphics. The combat looked much worse.
Water painting looking.
Yeah, the water paint. I'll never forget in the trailer they put unique. Like,
wow.
You mean ugly art style that you didn't have a budget for, so you tried to make it look like water painted or something in some way. Just, that game, such a mystery, and it's gone now. I think it's fully shut down.
You need to make a meme out of that. He sent me 2 pictures, and it was like how it started and how it's going, even though technically it's not going anymore. But the original picture from when they first announced it to the final product was
the character model
absolutely insane. Like they should be sued for false advertising. That's how bad it was. Like they look like 2 completely different games. Like it's that bad. Like that's crazy.
I recommend people go and find an old footage of Babylon's Fall. It's totally different, way different. You're doing like flips through the air and stuff that I don't see in the real game.
The first time we saw that, me and you were both like, dude, that looks dope.
I was hyped.
Like,
it's Platinum Games.
Yeah.
Right after Nier, I was like, oh my God.
And
Astral Chain. Yep. Yeah. So anyway, that game's terrible, even though I only played 1 minute. I feel like I can judge it based on 1 minute of playing it. Then, of course, Horizon Forbidden West. Just didn't really like the structure, the story, the character moments. None of the characters really stood out to me as being exceptional in any way. Aloy disappointed because she acted a lot different. And I just thought it was really boring. Like the combat I didn't feel like it like got much better than like compared to the first game. I told you I was having those troubles with dying really quickly for some reason. I was trying to figure out, I tried all different armor builds and everything, and I just couldn't. I think I ended up dropping in like the difficulty down to the easiest one just to get through the rest of the story because I wanted to know what happened. And that's usually not good. Like if I'm just trying to run through the game just to complete it, just so I can like get it over with. So that was a pretty big disappointment. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite games ever, and the sequel is just disappointing. Maybe I'll try it again one day. Like I actually want to try it again one day. Like maybe be in a different headspace, and I don't know.
It makes me wonder if Horizon. It makes me wonder if Horizon Forbidden West came out and there was no Horizon Zero Dawn, if people that are disappointed about this would be like, no, this is a solid game. You know, like it's almost like it was so overshadowed by the first that it caused like pretty big disappointment. Or if that had been the only one that came out, Forbidden West, if people view it differently, you know what I mean?
I'm still really bitter about that one side quest though.
Which one?
Where like you're promised like super good armor.
Oh
like,
yeah,
her armor was the best armor. It's at the top of this cliff that you can't get to until the end of the game, and by then the armor is shit compared to what I'm wearing.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, this is top tier armor. It's not even like legendary quality. I was like, I hate this. Yeah. All this buildup, all this hope and dreaming for really great armor, and it doesn't even look cool.
Yeah, that does suck. That's annoying.
And then the last game on my list was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the campaign specifically, because I've been playing that multiplayer, Brett. I played without you quite a bit, and that prisoner rescue mode, absolutely amazing. Love it so much.
Oh, okay. I haven't played that mode.
I play with CJ. It's a lot of fun, and I really like that map that everyone hates.
Hang on. I've tried to play with this guy. Like
you don't have my schedule, man.
And it's always the shoot. I can't tonight, man.
Brett,
I get on the show.
You know.
Says, yeah, no, I get on the show.
Playing at the time too. I can't play with you right now. I'm busy.
I've been playing quite a bit with CJ. This motherfucker.
Listen, Brett.
I'm sitting here crying every night.
I'll have you know, sir. I'll have you know that I believe it was the day before yesterday. I sent you a voice message on Facebook saying I got all night to play if you're down, and you never even responded to it. You son of a bitch!
It was the one night I wasn't able to, and you're right. So that one was my fault.
He was too busy putting together this list of most hated games.
Exactly. It took him hours.
You son of a bitch.
I only had 3.
So the multiplayer I am enjoying quite a bit, but the campaign disappointed me. I talked about it quite a bit because it was, I don't know why I talked about it a lot. I feel like I talked about it a lot on this podcast. I just can't remember why. But the what we're playing section. The campaign just so like trying to be the original Modern Warfares and not really pushing like the Call of Duty like typical thing forward. Like it's just I've done it 100 times. Like it felt so copy paste compared to the old Modern Warfares. And story wise, I mean, it was okay. There were some interesting characters and whatnot, but it just didn't compare to Infinite Warfare or even the original Modern Warfare, which felt more fresh and exciting. This felt like it was building on top of the original Modern Warfare, but ultimately just felt pretty boring overall. And a few sections that they had, like the car section was terrible. That section that's on screen right now is so bad. Like when you're driving the car,
that's bad. I hate it.
And but then I said the campaign gets better in the second half because the stealth sections and then this boat mission where their boats like rocking back and forth. It's a really awesome like environment and just place to shoot people in. So yeah, that's all my most disappointing games. And we have about 20 minutes left, so we got to get into some news, guys. Come on, we just. I expect us to get through that in like 30 minutes, not an hour and 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, no.
I really did. So let's talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have leaked early. Someone got an early copy of the game and they started posting it on Twitter, images and information. And I don't really want to go heavily into the stuff that leaked just to not piss Nintendo off or anyone. But I just want to say that this just seems to be started to become the norm even more with leaks and stuff. John, any thoughts on this?
Spanish leaks again.
Yeah.
The screenshots are in Spanish. Like,
someone that's going to help us narrow it down, you motherfuckers.
I don't know, but like I mean as usual I don't actually like care about the Pokemon themselves,
Right, that's me
you
too.
know, whatever, but like I'm just curious to see like what behind the scenes like how Pokemon Company and Nintendo will react this time. Like, I can't believe this happened a 17th time. This is going to be the last time.
Yeah.
Burn
It's like
me
them and
one
Sony.
time.
This time.
It's like
Yeah.
Sony has the same stupid shit happen too. It's like Nintendo and Sony.
Yeah, and
Right.
Ubisoft.
Yeah, well, that's just a given with them.
Yeah, that's
hey,
just
leave,
like average.
leave Ubisoft alone, you guys. Come on.
That's just their routine. They make the game, they start, like doing most of it, and
or not completing it and then releasing a broken game.
John. Oh wait, never mind. You're not muted, right? No.
Open up.
No, I hear you. I thought you were talking for a second, but you weren't. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have any thoughts on this? We could just skip it. I mean, Pokemon comes out pretty soon. I'm still not sure about getting this one. It's like the first one in a while now that I'm like, since the Switch came out, that I'm
Yeah.
thinking about not picking up because I just
Yeah.
played Arceus. So I'm like,
I'm not super hyped on it. I'm following some of the leaks and like a Discord that I'm in because like I just don't care for spoilers for a Pokemon game for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Mm.
saying.
So,
yeah.
but I've seen like evolutions now, and I'm just like, crap. I was like, I hate it.
And like,
Well, that-
I'm sorry.
I
What,
didn't say
Greg?
which ones, but pleased with.
Yeah.
Greg?
This game, I'm just not sure about this one. Greg, were you gonna say something?
Oh no, but now that you brought it up, I was going to say, like, would you rather be disappointed by something that you saw in a leak for Pokemon for the evolutions, or playing it and being disappointed after buying
Yeah, that's
it?
true. True.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Hard to tell.
Mm. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
so I was watching the Hidden Krista podcast, the only podcast I
Again,
watch.
you're shouting them out every
Oh.
week.
Well, so I remember they said like maybe it was a couple weeks ago, or like they commented on how basically like it feels like we're getting more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet information, like a regular, like, or maybe like an extra regular cadence, so to speak. Like they're revealing more of the game than they normally would, and like they're kind of theorizing that like maybe like their pre-order numbers aren't where they expected it to be, and like they just keep pushing, flooding all this content because they're trying to do anything they can to push up the pre-orders.
Dude,
So,
I
like,
wouldn't be surprised.
so
After-
it really
there
could
has to be a
situation
point,
where
sorry.
there's apathy. Like you
There
guys have.
has to be a point where even the kids start realizing quality matters, and you can't release a game that looks like a GameCube game in 2022.
And
Like,
it looks
really?
like the last 18 entries of the game. Like that's my thing with Pokemon. Like, is other than Arceus, is there anything that's changed in this series for like the last 10 games? Like, I just feel like it's all
there's
the
things
same
that
every single
change,
entry.
They
but-
have their gimmick
Yeah.
this time, which is the terastallizing thing. But like, I
Mhm.
still am very shocked that Arceus came out earlier this year,
Yeah.
and they're already doing
Yeah,
another
and
Pokemon
another
game.
one.
And like, I know it's
This is the smallest
like,
gap they had.
yeah, they're two very different games. They're gonna play differently. This is more like traditional Pokemon. Arceus kind of broke the mold a bit, but still, it's like the fans aren't hungry yet for a new Pokemon game. You know, people are still
Yeah.
playing and enjoying Arceus. So it's
They
like,
really
Pokemon Company will tell you when you're hungry for more
Right.
Pokemon.
the,
apparently.
the
No more,
audacity.
please, no
The
more.
audacity to drop Arceus isn't really a mainline game, but it basically
treat
is.
it as a
it's a
mainline
new
game,
though,
structure, a new formula, but it's basically a mainline game. The audacity to drop 2 in the span of like 8 months or something, like 9 months, like that's crazy. That is like back in the Game Boy and DS and maybe into the 3DS, they didn't come out that fast. Like sometimes there was like a 1.5 2 year gap, I believe. It wasn't always 1 year, like how it turned into,
Yeah.
like how there was always a remake. Now there's either always a remake, a brand new mainline game, or something like Arceus now. Whereas before they actually took breaks. Now we're getting down, like we're getting to the point where they're 9 months apart. That is,
It's just like
Crazy.
Assassin's Creed now.
yeah.
Hey, like I said,
Assassin's
lay
Creed.
off the Ubisoft stuff.
Well, even like from a parent's perspective, like imagine buying your kid a new Pokemon game and they're crying because they want the latest one, and there's one that released not too long ago, and then this one, and
How do you
maybe
even know
it'll-
which the new one is? Is it
yeah, maybe it'll
Right.
have their Q4 and be like, well, you've waited this long, you can wait for Christmas for another one or something like that. But still, it's like
Mm.
my wallet
Guys.
would be tired if these are my kids and they were loving every Pokemon game.
Guys, I totally forgot about the remaster was last year, right before Arceus. So in
It
the
was like
span of
November.
1 year, what?
free?
Yeah, it was like November. I think it was like a
Yeah,
holiday
so
game.
in the span
Yeah.
of 1 year,
Pokemon
we're
games.
getting 3 mainline Pokemon games. Like, it's too much. Come on, Game Freak. It's time to, let them cook in the oven, get them looking to like at least a PS3 level graphics.
It's
And,
dude, it's almost insulting. It's like they're just laughing, going, "We're gonna do whatever we want. You guys are gonna buy every single one, and we're just gonna sit and fucking collect all the money and laugh all the way to the bank."
The strategy's
It's-
worked up till now.
It has, and that's what's sad about it is they can do this, and they're going to continue to do it unless people start speaking with their wallet and stop buying every single fucking one of them.
See, honestly, though, I was surprised to hear that you guys are feeling apathetic about it right now, because me, as a guy whose opinion doesn't really matter, because I'm not buying anything, so I'm not a valuable customer to Pokemon Company.
To
But like,
anyone.
I thought though that like the open world, like this is like the actual open world this time, whereas Arceus was like this segmented Monster Hunter style thing. Like I thought like the fact that this is a genuine open world this time would like kind of grease the wheels a little.
Honestly, I just feel like Arceus's whole, like, it's not gym leaders, which would have been nice, but like everything else was really cool. Like collecting the Pokemon, building up your Pokedex, being able to go fight a boss, literally a boss where you're dodging and throwing things at a Pokemon. Being able to like get attacked by a Pokemon in the open world, being able to freely run around while you're battling, all that stuff that was brand new in Arceus, and a lot of it looks like it's not in this next game, which disappoints me. So yeah, and there's no Pokemon in the open world. I don't think. I think I read that, didn't I? There's no
What do you
Pokemon
mean,
that'll
no?
attack you in the open world. I meant to say.
Oh, yeah, that's
Um,
probably true.
So that's just kind of disappointing. Like I felt like that was really cool. It finally felt like there was some stakes in the like because Pokemon are supposed to be dangerous in some way. Like in the anime, you see Ash go through freaking hell getting tortured by Pokemon. So it was kind of cool to finally like be able to like run away from a big scary Onyx or something. So I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna end up getting the game because it's gonna end up getting a bunch of good reviews. I'm gonna feel like I'm missing out, and I'm gonna buy it like an idiot. And Brett's gonna go halvesies, right, Brett?
Fuck no. I would say yes to that on almost every game, but I can't because I know I'm not going to play it. Like I just don't. I used to like I would lie to myself and say I'm going to play Monster Hunter Rise and I'm going to play each Pokemon game, and I just this point, I'll never play that. I don't know. And I think Arceus is the first one I've been interested in because it did something different than the other ones have done. So I think eventually at some point I will play that, but man, I don't know.
No, you won't. But you'll think about it.
No, you won't.
Well, as I've said before, with each Pokemon game lately, it feels like it's at least taking steps closer to a game that I would actually play. It's not there yet, but
Yeah.
it's headed in the right direction. Maybe someday. Maybe by the time I retire.
All right, guys, we got to get through some more news and talk about what we're playing because I still want to go over Sonic Frontiers a little bit since it's brand new. So let's go ahead to the next one. Animal Crossing is the highest selling game of all time in Japan, apparently.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, so it came out, well, yeah, obviously it came out during COVID. And you deleted the link right as I was about to click it to look at the numbers.
My bad. I just brought it back.
There we go. All right, now you can delete it. So yeah, apparently in Japan, all this time, Pokemon like red, blue, green, because in Japan initially it was red and green. That was the top selling thing all this time in Japan. That was apparently 10.2 million units. And New Horizons is at 10.4 now. So like that's
Damn.
just
That's nuts.
And naturally,
Nice, Eric.
and
I hope that was in the
naturally-
podcast recording.
We'll
Alright.
find out.
Does
Okay,
anyone still play Animal Crossing? Mary?
I did
Never even
not
bought it.
long ago, actually.
John never even bought
Oh,
it.
really?
Yeah, I opened it up, ran around my island, remembered where I was redecorating, and then went and did Happy Home Designer because I didn't want to have to think about like moving stuff around my own island. I was like, I'm just gonna go do the Happy Home Designer stuff. But then it just made me like angry that they're not gonna make any more content for it. Like Pocket Camp
Yeah.
gets so much attention and so much stuff and so much content, and the villagers actually interact with stuff that you put at your campsite, like in Pocket Camp, and it's frustrating that New Horizons is just like, here you go.
It's kind of
Bye.
strange. Like they could make so much money. Like even selling like
Yeah.
microtransactions in Animal Crossing. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
like
that that's
Pocket
what
Camp
we want,
does.
but like a game
NFTs. That's what we want.
for a
NFTs.
game that came out now like 3 years ago or something. I feel like in like 2 years they could be like, we're adding a microtransaction center in Animal Crossing in Animal Crossing. So if people just want to sort of skip all of the hard work and just buy money, buy furniture, just like go wild in your town, I feel like they'd make a shit ton of money from people who just want to skip straight to all that, get whatever they want, start designing, doing like everything.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they don't do that.
Yeah, or even if like what they do with Pocket Camp, I don't think they would do like the pass thing. You know, I don't know. I don't think they would do that for like a Switch game. I think they're how Nintendo does mobile games better, but like the in-game currency isn't like super difficult to get. I haven't played Pocket Camp in a while because I was hyped for New Horizons. But like you could save up like the little in-game currency pretty easily whenever like the special like fortune cookies came out where like the special furniture, you know, like you could get like a pretty good amount, you know, and get some cool stuff with it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still just disappointed at the lack of support compared to Pocket Camp, which I played religiously for like a long time because I wanted like my Animal Crossing fix.
Until New Horizons came out, then you stopped.
Yeah, and then I was
never
hyped, and then I stopped, and they weren't
Now you
linking
have
anything
nothing.
with it. Yeah, they didn't even link the two games in any way, and I was like, why?
But yeah, that's pretty crazy. And go Animal Crossing. Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
I kind of appreciate the fact that they're like, you know what? We're packing it up. We're gonna Crossing. See you in 5 to 10 years, whenever it's done.
10
So
years.
yeah. Then next up, we got Mega Man 11 is the top selling game in the series at 1.6 million sales. John, any thoughts on this?
It's cool. Like,
All right,
What-
next up we got.
I'm
I mean-
shocked.
well, like, I mean, there's so many asterisks at play in that conversation because I mean, like, there's been so many Mega Man games at like so many price points in the first place, but like, it is a good sign though for the franchise, like that this is a game that Capcom's like rolled out for every sale for years. So like, I mean, it's not like they're making $40 in every sale. Most likely they're making like $20 or something like that, which, you know,
That's true.
$20 is still good when you multiply by like 1.5 million. But bottom line, it shows that like the brand is healthy again. And for the longest time, it's been like, we know that there's a big new Mega Man game, and apparently it has like the biggest budget of any Mega Man game. It seems to be a new sub-franchise, but we don't know what it is beyond that. So like there's just been this big mystery for like 2 years of like what this thing is. So we're expecting it to finally be announced by like first half of next year, maybe. So we'll see.
We'll see. Next up, we got Square Enix gave us all blue balls by teasing something called Symbiogenesis. Everyone assumed it was going to be a new Parasite Eve game because they don't actually have the name Parasite Eve. They don't own it, so they can't even make a new game called that. But everyone assumed this new thing called Symbiogenesis was going to be that with a brand new name. And unfortunately, it's just an NFT project that they're doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Ethereum blockchain. Yeah.
Loving the blockchain over there at Square Enix.
And what's funny is if you read the like official press release for it, you know, like traditionally the goal of a press release is to like convey information directly and like articulate its value and why you should be excited for this thing on the horizon. You read this press release, like I have no idea what the hell it's talking about. Like, like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm supposed to like it. I don't think the people
They don't
who
even
wrote
know.
it know.
Yeah, they don't even know what NFTs are. They're just like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. Let's hop on that train.
Yeah,
Too late.
like-
Everyone's already getting over them. Hopefully.
Right, like the whole thing.
That ship
looks
never
like-
even took
Yeah.
off. It was dead before it started.
It didn't sail. They're just
Yeah.
the cannonball hit it while it was docked. And we're
Right.
trying to get updates on it from the bottom of the ocean. But
I like that.
But
That's
yeah,
good.
so yeah, I don't know. Weird situation. It feels like it wasn't even like their usual people that wrote the thing. It feels like they got like Jimmy McGee at like the NFT store to like write it up for them. Like, I don't know.
I just thought you
predict
said
it will
Jimmy
not
McGill
blow.
for a minute.
Oh yeah.
Jimmy McGee.
Man,
Wow.
that ruined me.
if-
You just ruined my night that I had to think about that show was over.
If Jimmy
Especially-
McGill wrote the release, not only
No,
would we
it'd be
understand
brilliant.
it, we'd be hyped to the moon. Be like,
No, it'd
hell
be
yeah,
fucking
NFTs.
brilliant.
Yeah. We'd all be on board.
You'd be a scam of our lives.
What a weird time too to release it though, like considering that
Yeah.
NFTs are considered like an investment, I
Mm.
suppose, to a
Yeah.
certain degree. And if
Yeah.
you follow like any of the stock market or the crypto market right now, everything is taking a giant shit. And
Right,
so
right.
now they're coming to the table with some other investment type deal, and it is like not exactly the right market to release it in. So why even
The
like,
economy is
talk
in the
about it?
toilet.
Yeah, the economy's bad. Inflation. It's like companies are having to charge more. Like the PS5 has to increase the sales in certain regions. It's like
They
People don't
have
wanna
to
spend money
increase
on
the
this.
sales. They didn't have to do that. They want to.
Okay. Well,
Jim lying, crying, dance move. But yeah, speaking of Square Enix, they sold a little company called Square Enix Montreal to Embracer Group. Embracer ended up renaming them to Onoma or something like that. I don't know how it's pronounced, but
Yeah, Onoma. I don't know.
Onoma, that
Yeah.
sounds better. After that, they decided, you know what, screw these guys, and they shut down the studio. So now they do not exist. And I think they went. Some of them went to go join. What was the other teams? John, do you know?
Eidos Montreal.
Yeah.
which
Okay.
is,
Yeah. Who's working on Fable now?
Yeah, Fable.
You're working on a bunch of Xbox shit. It was more than Fable, right? It was Fable and
Well, apparently they're
Well,
working on a new Deus Ex as
Crystal's
well.
working on.
Deus
Yeah, they're
Ex.
working on a new
yeah,
Deus
yeah.
Ex. So apparently there's a new Tomb Raider in development that we can assume is being made by Crystal. Crystal's also working on Perfect Dark, and then we have Eidos, who's working on Fable, but also apparently working on a new Deus Ex. So
Yeah.
they're all going back to what they normally do, while Microsoft money helping their teams out with their games.
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking maybe after all this Activision Blizzard stuff is done, that Embracer is going to end up selling these two teams to Microsoft, which would be pretty crazy. But I mean, they're already making Xbox exclusives, so it's essentially already a partnership in some way.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the craziest thing to imagine. But
yeah, so that's pretty crazy. Hopefully those people who lost their jobs can get back up on their feet, find something new.
Yeah.
And next up we got PlayStation VR 2 was revealed. This is sort of a non-Nintendo topic, but it's something that we should at least acknowledge because it's a whopping $550. Jesus Christ! This is after Sony had raised the price of the PS4 to $550 in all regions outside of the US
PS5.
or most regions. Yeah, PS5. I don't know. I didn't mean to say.
It's like Jesus, man. Don't get too carried away.
really turning the screws on them now.
I mean, like I know you hate PlayStation,
Just
but
cashing
Jesus
all
Christ,
my
man.
NFTs.
PS4s, they never lowered the price of PS4s. They're still like $400 everywhere. So that's
Ballsy.
kind of crazy. But anyway, it's happening. Has a terrible launch lineup. It's got one notable game with Horizon Call of the Mountain. Is that what it's called?
Call them out.
Yeah.
And that could be interesting. But man,
I
if
think
they
that
would have
looks
come
cool.
out. If they would have come out the gate with just these three games, I'm not buying it for just one game, but if they would have come out and said, all right, guys,
Half-Life
we're
Alyx.
getting Half-Life Alyx, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil 4 VR, day one, there you go.
Or
I would probably be on board.
I gotta say, I'm shocked that they didn't have an Astrobot because everything since PSVR that's been new that's come out, it's come alongside an Astrobot that teaches you how to use the new thing, like the Astrobot game that came out with the original PSVR. It apparently is like
And
incredible.
PS4. The PS4 launched with an Astrobot game,
but
and
it was like
then
it was
PlayStation
called
VR.
Playroom or something like that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
never played
but
that
it was-
one.
yeah.
But the one that came out with PSVR is supposed to be like one of the best PSVR games of all time. And then the Astrobot's Playroom that came out with PS5 was awesome. It showed off like the DualSense controller and stuff. So I was shocked that, and unless I guess we still got a few months before it's out, but I was shocked that it won't be releasing with an Astrobot game. I was actually quite perturbed about that.
Brett, keep in mind that Astrobot game that you just mentioned that was apparently amazing isn't going to work on this headset because I don't think they've announced any ports that they're doing for like previous games that were like well known or like well received. So that's unfortunate as well. All those PlayStation Plus games that you claimed that were VR games won't work on your brand new $550 VR headset. And obviously,
We care about generations, Brett. We care about
the way the
generations.
now they care. The way the VR headsets are, like how they function is just totally different. Like one uses a camera with a light bulb, controllers and stuff. This new one doesn't do that. So it makes sense why the old games wouldn't be able to work like backwards compatibility wise, but they should have at least had like 10 games that were like well-known VR games ready to go day one on this new version that like run better and play better and stuff, but they didn't have any of that.
Does
it's
PSVR
a very
have 10 games?
Yeah, they did. there was one by Sony
Hey, Greg, how's
London.
the HoloLens going? The Xbox
Sony
come out.
I don't think that was ever
I
came
saw a
out.
promotional,
Console.
I saw a promotional video for it was somebody using it. I
HoloLens
forget
is
what it
used
was
for like medical applications. Like it's used for like
Right.
Yeah.
academic work.
It's bigger than
Yeah.
us, Brett. It's that successful.
I have to say real quick, and I know we're over, so I don't want to get too into the weeds here, but I do think that two reasons I think that this wasn't supposed to be the original price point. Number one, Sony's never had like a secondary system be more expensive than their normal system. Like PSVR 1 was not more expensive than the PS4. The PlayStation Vita was not more expensive than the PS4 or the PS3, and so on and so on. So what I think happened is this was a result of it coming out at the absolute shittiest time you can release something because of inflation. And, you know, they already increased the cost of the PS5, like I said, in some regions because of this. So instead of having to go through the embarrassment of increasing the price later, I think they just must have gotten together and said, let's just give it an extra $50 now so we don't have to announce that later. And the other thing that I think that they did this for, or their piece of evidence, I think, is if you look at any thing that's coming out from PlayStation, it's always ended in a 99, $2.99, $3.99, $4.99. They don't ever have things come out as a 49. So I do think at the last minute they probably were like, yeah, this sucks that we have to release it like this, but it's come out at such a bad time. We have to tack on another $50 on the end of it, which sucks.
Just
but,
like PS5.
I really do think that's why, though. I do think that's why it's $550 instead of just $500.
I mean,
like, man, if you want the console and the headset, though, like you're paying well over $1,000. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
in this economy,
But no, but the thing is, it's not like the Oculus Quest where it's totally weighed down by it can only do so much. Like, it's able to do things that we've never seen in VR before because of the fact that it's connected to your PS5. So the tech is substantially higher. That everyone wants to compare it to the Oculus Quest. That's not a fair comparison. It's
I need
not
to look
the
at
Oculus Quest.
what the tech specs are. I mean, I just started plugging my Oculus Quest 2 in my PC, and PC has DualSense compatibility, and it probably is compatible with these controllers. And so it's like, what's stopping me from just playing games on my PC using, my Quest 2 and using DualSense controller or, the new ones coming out.
If you look at like a tech side by side, it's actually pretty staggering what this is doing compared to the Quest. Also, it's the first VR that you're going to see in 4K clarity. Like, that's one thing that VR has always been held back on, is like you're looking at stuff in 720 and you can see at times like it kind of takes you out of the experience. So like, it is going to be a different experience. So yeah, it sucks that it's $550. I honestly was expecting $500, so the extra 50 wasn't like shocking to me, but I get it. It sucks, but I'm going to be part of the problem and pre-order it in 2 weeks.
So. I'm definitely not pre-ordering for $550. That's insane.
I can't decide.
I will maybe get it if it's ever on like a super sale with like Black Friday stuff. But what's funny is my sister's been asking me about like PS5 and VR because her son wants to get like a VR headset. And then she asked me, well, first off, she can't even find a PS5. She's been trying to get one forever now, and they're still hard to find. So that's been like stressful for her. And I tried telling her about Wario 64 and stuff and being like, this is the guy. Like, you have to follow him if you want a PS5. But anyway, and then she kept asking me like, I want to get Wesley this PS5 because he wants PlayStation VR. And I'm like, wait, but like the old VR doesn't work with this new one. And she didn't understand. Like, well, no, she thought that the current PlayStation VR was going to be like compatible with the PS5, and she didn't want to buy a PS4 in 2022 whenever the PS5 is a thing. So I had to tell her, no, wait, they're about to announce VR information. I'll let you know as soon as I know the release date and the price. And I ended up telling her the price is February, and it's $550 on top of the price of the console, which is $500. And now it went from I want to get him VR for Christmas to I'm going to try to find him a PS5 for Christmas, and then a VR down the line at some point in the future, because there's no way I'm going to be able to get like I'm going to spend over $1,000 on a VR headset, which is the main reason he wanted it. So it's like you have to have both. You can't just buy the VR headset. So I think that's going to be a lot of people. Like they want to know like, what's this VR all about? And they go to the store, they see a $550 box. They assume this is all I need. This is probably the whole thing, because they see it sitting next to the Quest. That's all you need with the Quest. You just need the headset and then it works. With PS5, which is way more expensive, you go to the store, you see a VR headset, and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get this. You take it home, and it's like, oh, I need a PS5 to play these? I thought this was just like a separate thing because of the price point. I think that's how a lot of people are going to be confused this holiday, or next holiday, or whenever a lot of people are buying the PlayStation VR 2. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But it seemed like it's just very confusing, and the messaging is a bit muddled, and the pricing is just out of this world.
Yeah, I'm looking at the tech specs right now too, and I'm not really seeing anything that's like leaping off the page at me. Maybe small increases in resolution per eye.
Part of it is like in the controllers and the headset too. Like, it's going to have haptic feedbacks in your headset, so you can feel like if you get shot in the head, you're going to feel like a lump in your head. And there's going to be the haptic features in.
I don't know. There's a new VR headset that'll kill you if you die in the game that just came out. So I mean, I'd rather just use that at this point than pay $559.
Living on the edge.
Yeah.
And What's funny is I'm actually texting her right now because I've been wanting to know, like, why does he want a PS5? He's been in the Xbox ecosystem this whole time, and I'm wondering, like, why a PS5 right now?
One.
And she finally told me. He said he wants the new Five Nights at Freddy's game. It's like,
Oh Jesus!
That's
Tell
the
him to play
reason?
that on mobile. Tell him to play that on mobile, like my kids do. For Christ's sakes!
So I'm just thinking, Stacey, don't buy him a PS5. Like, he does not need a PS5 right now. He's perfectly happy with his Xbox One. That it's not going to look any different on a 720p TV. I promise you.
Maybe you could play it on Google Cardboard.
Yeah.
Best option. Five Nights. That's it.
Yeah, that's and VR as well.
Yeah, I
Five
was
Nights
gonna
VR.
say, like, horror in
No.
VR, I would imagine is quite novel. Well, I mean,
How-
it
how old is
Like,
he?
Art, I gush
He's
about
to
art
11, I think.
Just tell him VR is recommended for kids 13 and older.
13 and older. There you go, Stacey.
It
I'm
even
just
says on the
thinking-
box,
Now he'll
it even's
die.
recommended.
I actually texted her during this, and I said I'm talking about you next, and so she's watching right now. But
What's her name?
Stacey.
Stacy, or is it Stacy? Okay.
yeah, Stacey. Don't
Stacy,
buy.
get your kid a PS5.
No, don't buy a PS5 at all. Don't even buy a new Xbox because there's no point if he's playing on anything other than a 4K TV. You're not going to notice a difference. Like,
Yeah, you got to at least
with the
get-
games he plays, you're not going to notice a difference. Fortnite, Five Nights at Freddy's, all that shit. It's not going to be worth it. Like,
Yeah.
just buy him a bunch of games instead. I feel like you get way
If-
more out of that.
If you do get him a new console, you've got to upgrade the TV. Because
Yes.
like what the new consoles do will almost not be worth it if you have an older TV that doesn't do 4K. At least that's my suggestion, anyways. But
Yeah. But this has been Spot Dodge. We can't really get into what we're playing. We're already pretty far over. So, do you guys want to do like a minute each, or do you just want to head out?
I actually have to go. Me and my wife are going somewhere, so I'm gonna dip. If you guys want to stay, that's fine with
No,
you guys.
you dip real fast. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Okay. See you guys.
See you
Love you.
later.
Bye.
Adios.
So yeah, I'll talk about Sonic Frontiers for a minute, and then you guys can get into what you're playing. Sonic Frontiers is Eric's not liking it much. The guy who's running the show with his computer. I'm enjoying it because I played a lot of Sonic this year in preparation for this game, and it's much better than those games in terms of the mechanics, how fun it is to explore. It's just something different for Sonic, and that's what the franchise has desperately needed for like over a decade now, and you just needed something new. Same way I feel with Halo Infinite. I've been playing it for a year thinking, just give me something new. That's all I need is new content. A little different because Sonic needed more than just more of the same. It needed actually like a whole revamp, and that's what it got with Frontiers. And I actually think this new formula, this new open world thing they got with like still the linear traditional levels is a smart move. And I hope that they continue like this with Sonic and maybe keep trying new and different things, because the franchise is bigger than ever right now with the films. So the game needs at least something that's passable and acceptable and will be played by kids. And Sonic Frontiers seems like it's that game. Like it's not, it didn't blow a reviewer's socks off, but for kids, I feel like this would be a lot of fun if I was like 10 years old. Like you're friggin' Sonic in an open world, running around, getting new abilities. Like seems like it's really cool.
The Netflix
Yeah,
show and the game releasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Netflix show, the
Netflix
game
show's
releasing,
coming
the
soon.
film just came out not that long ago. Sonic is back and bigger than ever, which is crazy. Like especially considering the films could have gone one way or the other, and they actually ended up being good, which is cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is what the franchise needed. Something new, something that's not shit. It's actually reviewed well. It's not reviewed like as good as some other ones that were like pretty good, but it's been reviewed like mostly positive, which is all it needed. Just something that was positive and that'll like get people excited about Sonic in terms of the video games, because that hasn't been a thing in a long time. Forces is like how old now? Like over 5 years old. And that was the last mainline Sonic game. So yeah, finally a mainline game, and I think it's pretty good. The music is out of this world good. I haven't actually experienced in game yet, but there's some like metalcore songs that are like out on YouTube that'll like play during some of the bosses. They are so good. I've listened to them so much outside of the game. Like I just turn them on YouTube and just listen to them. Like unironically, they're amazing. Which Sonic has been known for a lot of its original amazing music over the years. But
I saw a comment because I was like really liking what I've heard so far of the soundtrack and stuff. And of course somebody has to, go and ruin it. I think it was on Sega's one of their posts. They said, yeah, the soundtrack is pretty shit and is pretty shit for a Sonic game. And I was like, what? This soundtrack sounds amazing. Like it's like metalcore, like fast-paced rock music. Like why not just have something different instead of the like traditional Sonic butt rock? There always has to be somebody sour.
I mean, the butt rock was good, don't get me wrong. Live and learn. That was amazing.
Wait, can I hear that again?
And then we got rolling around at the speed of sound. Those were bangers, just straight up
They
bangers.
were. They totally
Like
were.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Like I still unironically listen to them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the soundtrack. Like and like I said, I haven't actually experienced in game yet, but I've been listening to those metalcore songs and they're super good. Like if you grew up my age and you were in like the metalcore scene where like it's all like the Devil Wears Prada, Under Oath, all those types of bands. It's a game for you. I tell you what. I wanted to just start putting on my skinny jeans and just put on my old band T-shirts while I was playing this game.
The skinny jeans.
I did keep them. That's why I say put them on.
Okay.
They're actually down here in the basement in the drawer. Amanda always asks me, why do you keep keeping these? I'm like, babe, I'm going to do a skit one day where I know I'm going to need these. And this Sonic game might be that skit where I need those skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, Sonic's cool. I got to bring up the screen. Mary, you're hero and Zombie you beat Zombie U. How are those?
Beat Zombie U.
Oh shit.
Wow.
The ending. It ended very abruptly. that's
Really?
Like it ends abruptly, makes you sit through 45 minutes, not really, but for a very long like credit sequence, and then you get like the real ending. And then I was like, this is a very weird pacing for this. And like, I don't know. I wasn't thrilled with how it ended. All in all, still a very good Wii U game. Just that last little like hour and a half or so. I'm like, that could have been better. But yeah, I picked up Yakuza 0 again. I
Yay.
put more time into it other than like crane game and side quest stuff. I keep getting made fun of because it's like someone who's here is like every time like I look over, you're playing like the claw game. I'm like, okay, look, a little girl asked specifically for this one stuffed animal, and I can't tell her no. And I actually won a duck in a real claw game. I have it on my desk. So it's in real life. But yeah, I met Majima for the first time. And I was like, have I been just running around chapter 2 this whole time? It was like 3 or whatever. I was like, oh, I'm not that far into this. I've been focusing a lot on the small stuff.
It's like a 17 chapter game.
Oh my god!
Jesus, she's so far in, but not in at
So
all.
much time on mini games and side quests.
Well, I mean, will go really fast once you've already conquered all that little stuff, you know?
Maybe.
It's possible. It's possible, yeah.
Okay, I'll stop playing the claw game for a little bit, maybe.
Well, I think it
Follow
does
your
pick up.
heart.
It picks up quite a bit, I think, after that chapter that you just got to. Like you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm here. But I feel like after that, I think I'm on like 8 or 9 or something, but I felt like it just kept like going chapter after chapter. And I was like, okay, I'm making progress.
Yeah, one of my friends who I just hung out with this weekend was like, yeah, like the beginning's kind of slow. I was like, is it? I was like, okay, maybe that's why I was just kind of like having fun doing like all the little things, but like it definitely does feel like a shift has occurred, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be more of like, I guess, the real game. But I'm still having fun with it. Except for the part where like as soon as I would stand up, they would knock me, like the mobsters or whatever just knock me back down. I did get a little frustrated with that at one point. I was like, I literally just stood up and y'all are in my face.
And you'll figure it out.
Yeah, I'll get better.
So I'll make this quick, but each character unlocks like their own like unique like sort of like a side business mini game, which is like its own thing that can take up hours of the game if you want it to.
Oh,
And
no.
they're both really fun. But Majima's involves a hostess club, and like basically everyone agrees it's like one of the most fun things you can do in like the series. So I hope you'll
I'm
stick around
very
and enjoy
excited
it.
to learn that I get to actually manage the hostess club.
Yeah,
That makes me very excited.
it's really stupidly fun.
Good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway.
And then we got John. You're playing Bayonetta 3, which we talked about pretty extensively, but you also beat This Way Madness Lies. You reviewed it.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah. So this is a little indie RPG from the people that made Cosmic Star Heroine. It's they say this game's only like 4 to 5 hours long, but I upped the difficulty and it took me like 10, and like I wasn't dying all the time. That's just, how long it took to beat all the fights and stuff. But yeah, the gimmick of the game is it combines Sailor Moon with Shakespeare, which is very, very weird.
Oh,
Yeah, it's that game. The
yeah,
story,
I saw this.
yeah, the story is like basically like non-existent nonsense. Like it's not even worth talking about, but like it's kind of like fun in like a mindless way. It mostly just exists to like set up the Sailor Moon fights. The combat's basically they just like copy pasted from Cosmic Star Heroine, but that game had like one of the best RPG battle systems I've seen, so I can't really call it a complaint. But the pixel art is like really good. Like the environments especially like beautiful, and the boss fights are beautiful. So like it's made by 2 people, and it's like extremely obvious that it was made by 2 people. But if you just want to play like a bite-sized indie RPG with like fantastic combat and like magical girls, like it's a fun game. And it comes out in I think 2 days. I think it comes out on the 10th, and it's only $10. So I mean, like, how much do you have to lose? $10.
$10. That's exactly how much you have to lose.
So yeah, that's my quick recommendation. Just don't go into it expecting a story.
Okay, that's good. Now I know to skip it because I care about stories in my RPGs.
I do too, but nevertheless, I love Sailor Moon.
But Greg, you're the last one to come on. New season of Apex. Anything new or significant, or should I just wrap up the show?
Yeah, tons of stuff. The way you traverse the map is they have these zip lines that they implemented, and I feel like it gives a lot of it brings the combat to you in a lot of cases. Still learning a lot of the changes to the map, where to drop, different characters to use, the new legend Catalyst. I just think they did a really good job with her. She's like this, she's a witch and like has these different abilities where she can, fling her goo and it like damages people, and then you can also use it to reinforce doors, which kind of counters other legends and their abilities, and she can put up this big wall. And I've been in a lot of interesting fights that weren't like the traditional, like this group is holding this building and there's no other place to go on the map. There's a lot more rocks, there's a lot more buildings, like smaller buildings.
More rocks. This game is perfect.
On the map, so you're constantly playing like these small sections. Like, a lot of times your teammate will be like, "Hey, play this rock right here," and then we'll use it for cover and try to figure out our end game. And so I think she kind of disrupts that, as well as strengthens the different legends on the team. But I don't know, I'm having a really good time with it. It still feels fresh, even though it's the same game year after year. And like I said, Bayonetta 3 could be better.
All right, we'll end it on that note. Thanks a lot for hanging out, everyone, for this super extended 30-minute extra minutes longer. 30 hours longer. That would be a little insane. My computer is literally at 1% right now, so I could just disappear at any moment, which is kind of scary. I got to end the show. Yeah. So, all right, thanks a lot for hanging out. Please leave us a review on iTunes and Spotify, anywhere you listen to iPods or on YouTube. Subscribe, leave us a comment. 34, 67, 510. We'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Good day.